and you always love an opportunity to go out and see what you're made of as a football team. So excited to see our guys prepare and know that we're going to have some adversity, but we're going to have some great opportunities for success as well. And really, no matter what happens on Saturday, this is another game in our journey of continuing to get better and being our best selves. And it's going to be a challenge, but our guys are ready for it.
Coach, I'm sure you've seen the tape by now of the Montana State game, for example, and probably other games. What is Sac State doing well this year?
They do a lot of things well. I think their team speed is probably better than anybody that we've played so far, maybe with the exception of Utah State. But schematically, they're going to do a little bit more. I think on defense, man, they just do a great job with the interior stuff. I think if you can run to the perimeter, you'll have a little bit more success. You saw Montana State do a great job doing that. And on the back end, those guys do a great job creating turnovers. I mean, when they hit you, you feel it. They run to the football and they get the ball out. And on special teams, they do so many different wrinkles that you got to spend a lot of time on that can be tough. And they are so talented at the specialist position. I mean, they probably have the best punter in the conference. I mean, that guy does an unbelievable job just pinning it back. Obviously, their offensive field position plays into them having so many touchbacks, but field position, they do an outstanding job. On defense, I think Andy Thompson's the best defensive coordinator in the conference. I have a ton of respect for him. He's an amazing guy. Totally deserves the Sac State job. The fact that he's calling the defense still is a huge disappointment to me because he's one of the best. And then obviously Coach Frescus and Coach Richardson on offense. I've known those guys for a long time. Actually coached Chris Richardson, their offensive line coach's son, and I know how much time they spend on football and the type of love that they pour into their kids in that program. And they've done a great job. It is going to be a challenge in every facet for our guys. Their team speed's great. They're physical. Schematically, they do a lot, and they're very adept at every personnel position.
Do you guys view this as potentially another statement game going against such a high-quality opponent?
I think every game is a statement game if you play well. I mean, because to me it's always trying to evolve your own existence and what is your own bar. Because you could lose this football game and still make a statement with how well you play. Now, it's never your goal to lose any football game. I'm not saying that, but it's going to be harder to play well against these guys than anybody we played this year because they do a lot and they're really good at all those positions. And we're, going to play on the road. It's always unique because they have a lot of people there, but the track and the environment and the wind, it's a unique place to play against a really good opponent. And the fact that it's going to be a night game and we're going to have to get back at 6 a.m. again or 5 a.m. or whatever it'll end up being. There's a lot not in our favor, but our kids are getting really excited about playing football because I think they have belief in themselves and what they're capable of.
Coach, I know since day one, back in August, you set the message, look, we're trying to build a culture. We got a young team. We're trying to teach them the right way to do things. But I got to ask you, are you surprised that you've had the success that you've had so quickly in the process?
Maybe if you're measuring success off of wins and losses, you might necessarily be surprised. But I knew our guys would make plays, and there are always certain things that end up going in your favor. I talked about divine intervention in the Eastern Washington game, and then in the Portland State game. They were out a couple guys, but our guys did a good job playing well and stopping the run, which was going to be super important to win that football game, and they did a good job. I'm never surprised at what these kids are capable of because I see it every day in practice. What you're proud of and what you seek is improvement every day, and I think the kids have done that. And the matchups are always going to be different, The races are always going to be different every week, and this conference are going to have a lot of good ones. I mean, even looking at, our last 4-game stretch, they're the 4 best defenses in the conference that we've played statistically. So the road's going to get harder. But I think we're getting better, and I expect us to play well regardless of the outcome of any game.
Cody, talking about, last week you brought up, emotional letdown after that big win over Eastern going into Portland. Well, this week, we held Portland State to 100 yards. This is an offense that averaged, 250 plus in games. So how does the defense then, once again, you had a very good game. How do you go into this game now and keep that level up and not drop?
I think you look at the things that we did well, because there were times in the Portland State game where I thought we played elite defense. Now, I will say, Jimmy and Joe's are always more important than X's and O's, and Portland State was down one of the best Jimmys in the conference in Quincy Craig, but I thought our defense came out and played with a fire under their butt. We just got to learn to continue to make adjustments as they make adjustments, because those are going to happen. And I think our guys understand what the game plan is, and it's going to be a different challenge this week because they're probably equally as talented at the quarterback, running back combo position if Marcus Fulcher is able to play. Have a ton of respect for Caden Bennett. Obviously, I watched him play in high school. He's an outstanding player. And they probably have a lot more team speed on the perimeter. They got some receivers that can run. So even though they aren't going to throw it around the yard, when they throw it long and far, and it's extremely dangerous. So they gotta play to their keys and try and implement adjustments as soon as possible and understand that, we may not jump out to a 14-point lead against these guys, but we got to play 4 quarters of quality football that we're going to be proud of.
Coach, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. So against Montana, we played Montana. They were coming off a loss, and you said you almost wish Montana had won, so Bobby Hawk wouldn't be on a tear that week. And then Sac State has a good game, but a loss against Montana State. We have obviously a lot of momentum right now. So how much do you think the psychology of coming off a win or a loss plays into a game?
I think it always wakes people up. I don't know what the mental state of Sac State was before the game because they've been tested already. And Montana was a little bit different because they were just getting through their non-conference schedule, and then they played NAU, and you were hoping that they won because them going into Big Sky play and being 0-1 in Big Sky play, they're saying, oh, darn, we got to get going. Whereas Sac State, they've been tested, and they've been to the top of the mountain, and they've slipped up in a couple games where, if you watch the Sac State-Idaho game, there was divine intervention that led to Idaho winning that game. Sac State should have won that game. And then, obviously, Montana State is playing better ball than anybody in the conference right now. How dynamic they are at the quarterback position and the problems they present up front made issues for Sac State because Montana State's a great team. But I think those guys are going to be hungry now because now you're looking at 2 losses. You're saying, darn it, if you want to get in the playoffs, nothing's guaranteed because they got a tough stretch the rest of the way, too. They have a couple teams they got to play. So I know Coach Thompson prepares like heck for every game. The hours that guy puts in preparing, you can see that he has a distinct plan and he's on to everybody's tendencies. There's stuff you'll see teams do against everybody, but they don't do it against Sac State because Andy has a great plan. And I know Coach Thompson will have those guys ready to rock and roll. They know their staff is behind them, and they know that they have a really quality football team, and they're going to be hungry for a win. So it's going to take everything we got.
With the back-to-back wins, it just feels like the excitement level in the community is higher than it's been in a long time. I'm just wondering if you felt that sort of just being around town, if there's any experiences you've had.
I probably don't get to be around town as much as possible. I'm at Holt, so other than seeing you guys coming in and telling me, it's nice. I try to get out with my kids to the park and stuff when I can get out of the office, but nobody at the park's trying to talk football. They're just trying to change diapers and make sure the kids make it to the bathroom on time and have adequate snacks, which is a very important job. They relish it. But I think our kids have a little bounce in their step, which is important. One of the special things about Pocatello, I've said all along, is the people here do care, and it's a quality community that'll wrap their arms around the program if they feel like that love and effort is being reciprocated. And I hope these kids feel that the community is proud of them because they're giving everything that they have. But whether we had won 1 game or 2 games or whether we win 9 games, I hope people feel the same way because the effort and attitude from these kids has been outstanding this year.
Cody, let me ask you a basic question then. Keys to the game on Saturday night, from your perspective?
Jeez. I think protecting the football is going to be a huge one. Turnovers are always, but those guys are noticeably ripping and raking at the ball all the time. On defense, they do a great job. I think we have to put the ball, we got to put the ball in play. Our completion percentage is probably going to be a little bit more important than others, and we're going to have to hit a couple shots downfield because they're going to create enough problems up front. You're not going to dink and dunk these guys just because they're so dynamic in the coverages that they create. And on offense, you got to stop Caden Bennett and limit the 40-yard chunk plays. They've found ways to create those on offense and defense, whether they're long pick sixes or bombs that they throw. Limiting the gashes will be huge. If we can make them go up and down the field and we can create some massive chunk plays and take care of the football, I think we'll be in it at the end. But it's not going to be an easy task, but I do believe our kids are capable of it. We're going to love them up and coach them up to do it.
Against Portland State, we probably had more run plays than we have for most of the season. I think the Vikings actually had more pass attempts than we did for once. And so going against Sacramento State, who had some trouble stopping the run for Montana State, how do you think the variety of the offense is going to do?
Yeah. I will say running the game is not just snapping it and handing it to a guy. I think there's a totally different mentality that Montana State kind of brings to their run game. The people that they use, the schemes that they run, and who they have running the football is pretty special. For us against Portland State, it was kind of what is their answer? And I've told you guys all along is you have to be able to run the football to control games. And I think looking at us, just the way the game was going and the boxes we were being presented, we felt like we had an advantage running the football against Portland State. And when you're in control, and for us, coming out in the third quarter, when you're struggling to get going, when you have a consistent run game, it always helps. So that's probably why we leaned on it a little bit more in the second half, because we were seeing consistent results there, and there were a couple pass plays where we just missed a few reads, and it was kind of throwing off the momentum a little bit. But you're going to see us run the ball more as we build the program. We're always going to be a throwing team first. I mean, I think if it weren't for all the knees and everything at the end, we still would have had more pass attempts. But I think we always want to throw to score, but you got to run to win. And different games are going to breed different game plans. I have a ton of respect for what Thompson does in the run game from all the stunts and the ability he has to control the front from the interior 5. It's the exterior guys that really create the differences for Montana State. The multiple tight ends, whether you're using 2 or 3 tight ends to kind of control the edge, because now you're asking safeties and corners to get in the run fit, not just linebackers and D tackles that can stunt and play games off of back tendencies. But when we're in the red zone, we always got to run the ball. And, Hunter Hayes is a big part of that, but Jordan Cook, did a little bit of that last week, which I thought was awesome. And we're going to have to run the ball to control games as we build the program, but we're always going to be a throw-first team.